If you're watching this right now, maybe you haven't slept well in weeks. Maybe getting out of bed feels like the hardest thing in the world. Maybe you're exhausted, not just tired but soul tired. And maybe a small part of you is wondering, is it ever going to get better? I made this for you. Not a 10-step plan. Not toxic positivity. Just an honest conversation about how to take one step when one step is all you've got. Stay with me. Introduction: you are not alone. Hey. I'm really glad you're here. If you found this, it probably means you're going through something heavy right now, maybe something you've been carrying for a while. Depression. Anxiety. That feeling of being stuck, exhausted, or just not yourself anymore. I want you to know, you don't have to figure everything out today. You don't have to fix it all at once. In fact, that's kind of the whole point of what we're going to talk about today. One step at a time. Not 10 steps. Not a 12-week plan. Just one. And then another. And then another. That's how real healing happens, not in a giant leap, but in small, quiet moments where you decide to keep going. So for the next 30 minutes or so, I want to walk alongside you. We're going to talk honestly about what depression and anxiety actually feel like from the inside, why they're so hard to shake, and most importantly what you can start doing today, even if today is already really hard. Let's begin. Chapter 1: What's actually happening inside you. Understanding the fog. First, I want to talk about what depression and anxiety actually are, because I think a lot of people feel confused or even ashamed about what they're experiencing. And that confusion makes everything harder. Depression isn't laziness. It's not weakness. It's not a character flaw or a choice. Depression is your nervous system, your brain chemistry, and your emotional world all hitting a wall at the same time. It's exhaustion at a cellular level. When you're depressed, getting out of bed can feel like climbing a mountain. Replying to a text feels impossible. Enjoying something you used to love, food, music, people you care about, it all goes flat. Like the color got sucked out of the world. Anxiety, on the other hand, is the opposite problem on the surface, but it comes from the same place. Instead of shutting down, your nervous system goes into overdrive. It's scanning for danger constantly. Your heart races. Your thoughts spiral. You lie awake at 3 a.m. running worst-case scenarios you can't turn off. And here's the cruel part: depression and anxiety often show up together. You're exhausted but you can't sleep. You want to isolate but you feel guilty about it. You want to be okay, but the trying itself feels like too much. If any of that sounds familiar, you're not broken. Your brain is doing what it was designed to do under stress. The problem is that it's stuck. It got wired into a loop, and it doesn't know how to find the exit. That's what we're here for. The loop that keeps you stuck. One of the most important things to understand is this: depression and anxiety create self-reinforcing cycles. When you're depressed, you stop doing the things that made you feel good. You stop exercising, stop seeing friends, stop pursuing things that gave you meaning. And then, because you've stopped doing those things, you feel worse. Which makes you less likely to do them. And around it goes. Anxiety works the same way. You feel anxious about something, so you avoid it. Avoiding it gives you temporary relief, but it also tells your brain, yep, that thing really was dangerous. So the next time, the anxiety comes back stronger. These loops are incredibly common. And the fact that you're stuck in one doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're human, and your brain learned a pattern that felt like protection. Breaking the loop doesn't require willpower or a burst of motivation. It actually requires something much smaller and more sustainable. It requires one tiny action. That's it. Chapter 2: The Power of One Small Step. Why tiny actions are the key. Hopeful and encouraging. Now we're building toward action. I want to tell you about something researchers call behavioral activation. It's one of the most well-studied tools in treating depression, and the principle is beautifully simple. Action comes before motivation. Not after. Most of us are waiting to feel ready. We're waiting to feel motivated, or hopeful, or energized before we do something. But when you're depressed or anxious, that feeling doesn't just show up on its own. You have to coax it into existence by acting first even when it feels pointless. Here's the thing about your brain, it responds to what you do. When you take a small action, even something as minor as stepping outside for 5 minutes, or texting one person, or making your bed, your brain registers that. It starts to build a new pattern. A new loop. One that moves toward life instead of away from it. Now, I'm not talking about forcing yourself through a full workout or having a 5-hour social event when you're barely holding it together. I'm talking about something small. Embarrassingly small. Because small is sustainable. Small is possible on your worst days. And on your worst days, possible is everything. You're one step today. I want you to think about this question. You don't have to answer it out loud, just hold it. What is one thing, the smallest possible thing that you could do today that is slightly better than nothing? Maybe it's drinking a glass of water. Maybe it's opening the blinds. Maybe it's putting on clothes that aren't pajamas, or stepping onto your porch for 2 minutes, or writing down 3 words about how you're feeling. It doesn't have to be impressive. It doesn't have to fix anything. It just has to be real, and it has to be yours. That's your step for today. And here's the promise I'll make you: if you take that one step today, and one step tomorrow, and one step the day after, you will be in a different place 3 months from now. Not because you forced yourself into it, but because you slowly, steadily redirected the current. Chapter 3: Managing the Anxious Mind. When the thoughts won't stop. Studio microphone calm, measured. Slow your voice slightly for this chapter. Let's talk specifically about anxiety, because it has its own flavor of hard. When anxiety takes hold, your thoughts move fast. They jump to conclusions. They catastrophize, going from "I made a mistake at work" to "I'm going to lose my job, my family will suffer, and everything will fall apart" in about 30 seconds. That's not you being dramatic. That's your threat detection system running on overdrive. Your brain evolved to solve problems fast, and when it's anxious, it treats every discomfort like a survival emergency. The first skill I want to offer you is this. Learn to recognize the spiral before you're in it. Anxiety has a signature. For most people, it starts with a physical sensation, a tightness in the chest, a flutter in the stomach, a quickening of the breath. Before the thoughts fully take hold, the body sends a signal. When you feel that signal, that's your cue. Not to panic, but to pause. The 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. Studio microphone, read this slowly. Give each number real space. Here's a grounding technique that takes less than 2 minutes and can interrupt an anxiety spiral in its tracks. It's called the 5-4-3-2-1 method, and it works by bringing your attention into the present moment, out of the future where anxiety lives. When you feel anxiety rising, try this. Name 5 things you can see. Look around. A lamp. A tree outside the window. The pattern on a rug. Just see them. Name 4 things you can physically feel. Your feet on the floor. The fabric of your shirt. The temperature of the air. Name 3 things you can hear. A fan. Birds. Traffic. The sound of your own breathing. Name 2 things you can smell. Maybe there's nothing strong, that's okay. Even noticing the absence of smell is grounding. Name 1 thing you can taste. By the time you've done all of that, you've moved your brain from the future where anxiety spirals back into the present, where you're actually safe. Practice this when you're calm so it becomes automatic when you're not. Challenging the voice that lies. Anxiety has a voice. It says things like, something terrible is about to happen. You're not good enough. You can't handle this. Everyone can see how broken you are. That voice feels very real. It feels like truth. But most of the time, it's not telling you truth, it's telling you fear. One of the most powerful things you can do is learn to talk back to it. Not by suppressing it, but by questioning it. When the anxious thought comes, ask yourself 3 questions. 1. Is this thought actually true? What evidence do I have? 2. What's the worst that could realistically happen? Could I handle it? 3. What would I say to a friend who had this same thought? Often, the moment we apply the same compassion to ourselves that we'd give a friend, the thought loses its grip. Because we know, deep down, that we'd never speak to someone we love the way our anxiety speaks to us. Chapter 4: Taking Care of the Body That Carries You. Sleep, movement, and the basics. Studio microphone warm but grounded. Like a caring older sibling giving honest advice. I know what you're thinking. You're going to tell me to exercise and eat vegetables, aren't you? Kind of. But not in the way you might expect. Here's the honest truth: the state of your body has an enormous impact on the state of your mind. Not because you need to be fit or perfect, but because your brain is a physical organ that runs on sleep, food, movement, and human connection. When any of those things are significantly off, your emotional regulation takes a hit. And when you're depressed or anxious, all of those things tend to slip at once. You sleep badly. You don't move. You eat too much or too little. You isolate. Each one makes the others worse. So let's talk about the simplest, smallest interventions that actually make a difference. Sleep first. If there's one thing I'd prioritize above almost everything else, it's sleep. Poor sleep and depression are deeply intertwined, each one makes the other worse. You don't need to perfect your sleep routine overnight. But one habit that science consistently shows helps: keep a consistent wake-up time. Even on weekends. Even when you feel exhausted. Your brain uses that anchor to regulate its internal clock, and over time, it helps your sleep quality improve. Also your phone. I say this with love: the hour before bed, put it somewhere you can't easily reach it. The light from screens, and more importantly the emotional stimulation of scrolling, genuinely disrupts the chemistry your brain needs to wind down. Replace it with something quiet: reading, gentle stretching, a few minutes of writing. Something that tells your nervous system, it's safe to rest now. Movement, not exercise, just movement. I'm not going to tell you to run a 5K. But I am going to tell you this: moving your body even gently, even briefly, is one of the most reliable mood lifters we know of. When you move, your brain releases endorphins, dopamine, and serotonin, the exact chemicals that depression depletes. Even a 10-minute walk outside, especially in natural light, can genuinely shift your mood. The bar here is very low on purpose. Not a gym session. Not a fitness transformation. Just movement. A walk around the block. Some gentle stretching in your living room. Dancing to one song in your kitchen. If you can do that today, that counts. That is enough. Connection even when you don't want it. Depression and anxiety are both very good at convincing you to pull away from people. Depression says, you're too much of a burden. Anxiety says, what if they judge you? And both of them say, it's easier to just be alone. Don't listen. Connection is medicine. Not in a corny way, in a deeply biological way. Humans are wired for connection. Our nervous systems literally regulate each other. When we're around people who feel safe, our own nervous systems calm down. You don't need a big social event. You don't need to explain everything you're going through. You just need one genuine moment of connection. A text to someone who makes you feel good. A phone call where you laugh once. Sitting near someone even if you don't talk much. Let someone in. Even just a little. Chapter 5: When to get more help. There's no prize for going it alone. Studio microphone gentle, direct. No shame here, this is one of the most important things to say. I want to pause here and say something important. Everything we've talked about today, the small steps, the grounding techniques, the body care, these are genuinely helpful tools. But they are not a substitute for professional support when you need it. Depression and anxiety exist on a spectrum. For some people, the tools in this recording and some lifestyle shifts make a real difference. For others, the chemistry is significantly off balance, the history is more complex, or the pain is deeper and that calls for therapy, or sometimes medication, or both. There is absolutely no weakness in getting that help. In fact, reaching out to a professional is one of the bravest and most loving things you can do for yourself. If you've been struggling for more than 2 weeks, if you're not able to function in daily life, if you're having thoughts of hurting yourself, please don't try to manage that alone. Talk to a doctor, a therapist, a crisis line, or someone you trust. Asking for help is not giving up. It is the most powerful step you can take. What good therapy actually looks like. If you've never been to therapy, or had a bad experience, I want to briefly describe what good therapy can look like because I think some people avoid it based on a misunderstanding of what it is. Good therapy isn't about lying on a couch and blaming your parents. It's a collaborative conversation with a trained professional who helps you understand your own patterns, why you feel what you feel, why you do what you do, and helps you build better tools. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is one of the most evidence-based approaches for both depression and anxiety. It focuses on the connection between thoughts, feelings, and behaviors and teaches you to interrupt unhelpful patterns. If you don't have access to a therapist right now due to cost or availability, there are also apps, workbooks, and online resources that offer CBT-based exercises for free or low cost. It's not the same as working with a human, but it's a meaningful starting point. The key thing is, please don't give up on getting support just because the first option isn't available. Keep looking. You deserve care. Chapter 6: Building a Life That Supports You. Small habits, big shifts. Studio microphone warm and forward-looking. We're nearing the end. This is about hope and sustainable change. Let's talk about the longer game. Because healing from depression and anxiety isn't just about crisis management, it's about building a life that is genuinely more supportive of your well-being. That doesn't mean a perfect life. It means a life with more of the things that replenish you, and fewer of the things that drain you. And it means structures, gentle, flexible structures that make the good habits easier and the harmful ones harder. Your daily anchor habits. Research on mental health consistently points to a few anchor habits, small, daily practices that help regulate your nervous system and build resilience over time. Sunlight in the morning. Getting outside within an hour of waking up, even briefly, helps regulate your circadian rhythm and your mood. Natural light is a powerful antidepressant. A consistent morning routine. Not a complicated one, just something that's yours. A cup of tea. 5 minutes of quiet. A few pages of a book. Something that eases you into the day before the demands start. A moment of reflection at night. Not rumination, reflection. Briefly asking yourself, what was one thing that went okay today? What am I grateful for, even in a small way? Over time, this practice literally rewires the brain toward noticing the positive. Reducing inputs that spike anxiety. This might mean limiting news consumption to once a day. It might mean curating your social media feed to include more of what nourishes you. It might mean recognizing the relationships or conversations that consistently leave you feeling worse, and building some boundaries around them. Compassion toward yourself. I want to spend a moment on this one, because I think it might be the most important thing we'll discuss. One of the hallmarks of both depression and anxiety is harsh self-criticism. That inner voice that says, why can't you just get it together? Other people deal with harder things. You're so weak. You should be further along by now. That voice is not your friend. And more importantly, it's not telling the truth. Self-compassion is not self-pity. It's not making excuses. It's not lowering your standards. It's treating yourself with the same basic decency you would offer a person you cared about who was struggling. It sounds like, this is hard. It's okay that it's hard. A lot of people feel this way. I'm going to be gentle with myself today. Research by psychologist Kristin Neff and others has shown that self-compassion is actually more motivating in the long run than self-criticism. People who are kind to themselves when they fail are more likely to try again, not less. So whatever you haven't done, whatever you've struggled with, whatever you're ashamed of, let's put that down for a moment. Not to ignore it, but to give you room to breathe. To remind you that you are doing the best you can with what you have. And that is enough to start from. Closing one step, one day, one breath. Studio microphone, slow down. This is the heart of everything. Let it land. We've covered a lot of ground today. And I want to bring it back to something simple before we close. You don't need to do all of this. You don't need to implement every strategy, read every book, or figure out your entire healing journey today. You just need one step. And right now, in this moment, you've already taken one. You listened. You stayed. You showed up for yourself by spending this time here. That counts. The path out of depression and anxiety is real. It exists. Other people have walked it, people who were exactly where you are right now, who felt just as hopeless, just as stuck. And they found their way through, not by being extraordinary, but by being persistent. By doing the next small thing, and the next, and the next. You can do that. Not perfectly. Not all at once. But really, truly, one step at a time. If today's step is sleeping earlier, take that step. If it's texting one friend, take that step. If it's booking an appointment with a therapist, take that step. If it's simply deciding that tomorrow you'll try again, take that step. Whatever your one step is today, take it. Because you matter. Your well-being matters. And healing, real, lasting, bone-deep healing is possible for you. I'm rooting for you.